And welcome to the SportsGrad podcast, your bite-sized guide to enter the sports industry. And joining me, as always, is the husky voice, Ruben Williams. How are you, mate?
G'day, Ryan. I'm cooked, thank you. I've been on the road for about 3 weeks with the T20 World Cup, and then we had our meetups in Sydney and Melbourne after that, and talking non-stop for hours on end just meant that by the end of the Friday night in Melbourne, I was whispering. So
yes,
I'm ready to. I've got about 4 days to recover, and then I'm off to Qatar to go cheer for the Socceroos. So pray for my voice.
I'm worried for your windpipes, because I think, if you don't have a voice now, you're about to go to the World Cup, which requires a lot of voice. So yes, I think your voice might stay the same for the next 3 weeks.
Yes.
So good luck with that.
It may not change from this point on. I'm going to 6 games, so it'll be a fair bit of chanting.
There's a big few ways coming up. Keen to jump into the T20 World Cup stuff, which is what this episode is all about. So we'll kick it off. I'm Ryan Walker. He's Ruben Williams, as I mentioned. We are two mates who met at Cricket Australia. Now we help people find their own dream job through this very podcast and our online community. If you want to follow us, head over to LinkedIn, or even better, if you want to connect with us and hundreds, I think it's over 400 now, members working in sport. Become a member of the SportsGrad community today.
And speaking of our SportsGrad community, a special shout out to one of our members. His name is Sam Hickson. He's just been promoted to event manager at Football Australia. So well done to you, Sam. Sam's only 3 years out of university. He's got that promotion, and he's one of the first in our community to start to take that next step up in his career. So well done to you, Sam, and I can't wait to see you over in Qatar. Sam, you might remember, was on one of our podcasts way back when the Socceroos qualified for the World Cup. We got his reactions straight away on what it was like to work on the ground, and now his career keeps rolling on. So if you are like Sam and you want to get your foot in the door of the sports industry and then level up once you're inside, become a SportsGrad member. Head to www.sportsgrad.com.au/community to join.
Fantastic. Saw Sam at the Melbourne meetup the other night. He's going well. He's hitting that manager type zone, which is massive. Before we commence, a little message from our good friends at Deakin University, who have been our number one fan, number one supporter since day one. So if you're currently studying or you've just finished studying, having a postgrad qualification on your resume can give you a massive leg up over all the other potential candidates applying for the same role. So if you want to pump up your resume and get specialised knowledge in sports behaviour, marketing, finance, strategy, you name it, pretty much everything in sport, take a look at Deakin's postgrad qualifications. Their Master of Business in Sports Management is not one of, but the best one in Australia, ranked at number 1. So add a postgrad to your resume, and that's our tip for today.
Now, this is going to feel a bit weird because we know both of our guests very well, Ryan. We've got Harrison and Jack in today. We're used to just chatting very casually off the cuff for these guys, so it would be nice to have a bit more interview style format with you guys to see what you've been up to. But Jack Lloyd, a bit about you. You are the T20 World Cup digital marketing coordinator. You're about 3 years out of uni now. You had some excellent early experience at the Box Hill Hawks and TLA Worldwide in a PR role. You then even joined SportsGrad in a content role for a while before going on to get your first job at Rugby Victoria and leveraging that into the ICC T20 World Cup. Welcome back, mate.
Thanks, boys. Thanks very much for having me. Some lengthy celebrations last night, but somehow still sound a bit better than Ruben.
How's that happened? You sound silky smooth and Ruse is still cooked.
Yeah, not sure.
Some can hack it, some can't.
I think so. No, great to be here, and look forward to reflecting on the World Cup with you today.
Yeah, Jack, you're clearly just built different, I think. Now, next to you, we've got Harrison Orchard, who is the T20 World Cup marketing lead. Harrison, you're a bit further down the track with your career. 9 years out of university, formerly worked in marketing at Kookaburra, Suncorp and News Corp. Plus, you've had extensive radio experience, which our listeners are about to find out exactly why when they hear your voice. Welcome.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me in here. It's good to jump on the mics with you today. It's a bit of a long-time listener, first-time caller type. So good to be in the booth.
I can definitely see why you've worked in radio. Lovely voice. Now, I heard that you also still do a little bit of voiceover work.
I do, yeah. So it was a bit of a funny intro years ago when I had my first marketing role. I was working at Suncorp in financial services, so not quite as glamorous or shiny as the sport industry, but I was working with a creative agency at the time, and one of the creative leads thought I had a good voice and would write me scripts and would just say, hey, go home, practice these. I bought a cheap Tascam recorder and just whipped together a demo, and that was enough to get me a bit of voiceover work. So.
I must say that the voice is nice, isn't it?
It is.
I listen to my voice and I just can't stand it. But
It's well and truly making up for mine.
could listen to H all day.
I think one of Harrison's primary roles in the team is to be the voiceover reader of our radio scripts before they go to market. So, when Harrison can read it well, it's gonna succeed.
Yeah,
so,
it's going to sell, isn't it?
It is.
We do our best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, we've got you in because the T20 World Cup has just finished yesterday. There was an incredible final, 80,000 people at the MCG. England got over the top of Pakistan. You guys have had a big night celebrating what's really been 5 years for the entire organisation to get to this point in time. You guys have come in the last 12 months, but during the tournament, you guys have stepped out a bit of your marketing roles into some tournament time roles. Equally, Ryan and I have also been involved in various capacities too. So we're keen to give the people at home a bit of an overview of what each person's been up to, what type of roles go on during the tournament, and shed light on what these tournament jobs actually look like. So, Jack, we might start with you. You've been the digital marketing coordinator during the year, but tell us what you got up to whilst the tournament was actually going on.
For sure, yeah. So obviously, pretty in the marketing team for the lead up to the tournament, and then once the tournament came around, we were really lucky enough to sort of get in the space of sports presentation and sports presentation leads for in tournament. So we had a lot of fun with those roles. It's it's a great role to really get involved on the field of play. And have sort of a great impact on the delivery of the match. It's really about sort of heightening that fan experience and bringing the match to life in stadium. So, in that role, you're obviously working with a range of stakeholders, Kojo in particular, incredible organisation, really sort of at the forefront of sports presentation in Australia. You're working with the ICC, you're working with broadcast, as well as cricket ops, to name a few, and you're really sort of delivering that anthem ceremony pre-match. So you're working with flag bearers, anthem kids, trophy bearers, trophy handlers, just to make sure that pre-match ceremony runs smoothly, runs to the second. And it's a lot of fun being involved out in the field of play. So sports presentation lead, that was sort of my role throughout the tournament. On match days, got a bit of a taste of Tassie, taste of Adelaide, taste of the MCG, and I think being involved on the final yesterday, being out there was just incredible atmosphere and unbelievable feeling.
So what was your role on the MCG yesterday? Were you holding the anthem kids' hands, leading them out? Or were you holding the flags? Were you directing traffic? What were you doing?
Yeah, a bit of all that. Holding some grown man's hands. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable atmosphere out there. The whole ceremony was sort of built on bringing generations and cultures together. We had sort of Ice House playing some absolute anthems, and we had a real sort of ceremony with all 16 international teams' flags coming out onto the ground. So our role was flag lead, so we're sort of coordinating the movements of those flags, and happened to be holding a piece of the India flag running out onto the field of play, which was unbelievable. Just going out through the race and just seeing that sea of green just covering the MCG of all the Pakistan supporters. It was pretty unbelievable experience to be out there on the field of play.
Did you go to all grounds, or just those ones you mentioned?
Yeah, just the ones we mentioned. We still obviously had to juggle our marketing duties throughout the tournament, but our team was really keen on us to experience the World Cup interstate and get a taste of it. So I was fortunate enough to go down to Tassie, Adelaide and Melbourne.
And I bumped into you at the Captain's Media Day right at the start of the tournament. Was that in a different sort of role, or was that related to your marketing duties? What were you up to there?
Yeah, a little bit of all the above, just sort of helping out with some of the content and media duties for the day. Sort of one of my roles for the day that I didn't really expect was driving the West Indies captain to the airport post-function. I think some of our transport fell through at the conclusion of the captain's day, so it was sort of up to us to jump into the Nissan X-Trails and drive the captains to the airport so they didn't miss their flight for the matches kicking off the next day. So come tournament time, you just got to be prepared to put your hand up and do whatever's required, and you get some incredible experiences along the way.
Is there a fair bit of that where like just random stuff happens, and because you guys are on the books with the organisation, they just ask you to do anything and everything?
Oh, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. One of our key roles with the sports presentation lead is to look after trophy movements, and one of the days my role is to get the trophy professionally polished and professionally cleaned. So took that down to Rundle Mall in Adelaide to one of the polishers that we'd organised, and we were sort of waiting for that, obviously keeping a close eye on the trophy, waiting for that to be clean. And I see to my right just a group of about 20 people have started to line up to ask for photos with the trophy. So, you've just got to be sort of prepared to do everything, but it's quite special to be working on an event like that where it just means so much to so many people globally.
Imagine you just see people lining up to take photos with Jack Lloyd and the trophy with the fan.
They're all on Twitter, haven't you seen? But Jack Lloyd hasn't completed the story yet.
Yeah, I think I was riding on the fan with the trophy there for a while.
Brilliant.
So you're just literally just walking around with a trophy just like in your hand?
No, we had it locked under key in a case. But I think people could sort of work out pretty quickly what was in that case when we were sort of all kitted up in our ICC kits.
There's not an awful lot of.
We'll bring you in, H. Yeah.
There's not that much subtlety in the case when you're walking around with something that looks like like it looks like a lockbox.
Yeah. Something's valuable in there. It's clear.
But I don't know. You just kind of go with it, and it's almost an opportunity to instill a bit of that excitement in the fans. So even if someone is a bit of a casual cricket fan, and you see them taking a look, and if you engage with them, say good day, and particularly if the trophy is getting pulled out of the box that day, it's an opportunity to help instill a bit more of that.
It's one of the World Cup LOC one percenters. where you're not sending out mass emails. It's just on the street when you happen to have the trophy. Engage one more fan.
1%ers.
Yeah.
And I think, to Jack's point, there are so many just kind of small jobs that you could do all the planning in the world. And, there's been particular staff that have just been focused on planning out every single minute of this World Cup event. But there's always just small little tasks that pop up on the day that no one could have foreseen. So you always kind of just got to be on call, ready to jump in and grab the X-Trail or trophy whenever it comes up.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like you've had an incredible tournament, Jack. Ryan, I might get your take on the World Cup. You were acquired over in Perth as an HCLO, which is one of the many ICC acronyms. I'll get you to explain what that stands for, and also tell us a bit about what it was like. And you almost didn't make it to Perth to begin with, so how was your tournament?
Yeah, I almost didn't make it there. For those close to me, they would know that I hadn't had COVID yet. So I was thinking my immune system was just off the charts and I was just an absolute specimen. But it was Saturday and I was about to fly out on the Monday and I tested positive for COVID. So it's probably not ideal having someone with COVID inside a team hotel with players. So unfortunately, I was a week late, which sucked. But it just meant I had to make the most of it for that week. But so HCLO basically stands for Host City Liaison Officer. So basically our job is to essentially make sure all the teams that are in that city, they're comfortable, they can get to training, they've got all the kit they need, their hotel is all correct, they can do all the things that they need, so that all they have to worry about is go and play cricket the best they possibly can. So it was an awesome experience. Like, I think I was saying to you, Rubes, like, it was just crazy doing work that wasn't behind the laptop. Like, literally for the week, we essentially worked off like a team WhatsApp. And like you said, you just had to be ready to jump in whenever you needed to do something. So, we used to do things like take kit to training, pick up players if they need to, organise like airport luggage transfers, like literally anything. There was like requests from hotel staff, getting them involved to do a lot of things. But, one thing really sticks my mind, and that is the luggage needs of the Indian cricket team.
Oh God, don't remind me.
And I guess like our job there is to, like I said, like get them comfortable in that city and make sure that they're ready to go. And part of that is grabbing their 220 pieces of luggage from the airport, taking them to the hotel.
Can I just say, like, the goal of every bit of logistic is so that 11 people can represent a country on a cricket field.
Yeah.
And mind you, this is the shortest format of the game.
Yeah, in the shortest format of the game.
Yeah.
And for 11 people to take the field, they need 220 bags.
Yes.
South Africa needed 80 odd.
Yeah.
UAE required 40 odd. So just a bit of context as to what we're dealing with.
Like they had 100 odd more than any other team. And I guess, we drafted in Rubes halfway through, which is fantastic. So we had an extra pair of hands, but there was 4 of us there. We had to, got a couple of extra spare hands, from the World Cup staff as well. But that process was literally like wake up real early, get to the airport, get it back to the hotel, but then deliver each of those bags to their individual rooms in Crown, Perth. And that was a mammoth job. But I must say, like, once you did it, you were like, wow, like that was pretty cool. Like we managed to pull it off. But yeah, I reckon I lost like 2 kilos and put on some guns as well. So that's always a positive, I reckon.
I was going to say, looking good.
I'm feeling pretty good about myself at the moment.
Any surprising items in there?
I can't say I opened the bag, but I did take Virat Kohli's bag to his door, which was crazy. It was pretty cool to know that I've held his bag. But I look across. It's like in our hotel we had like Australia, India, Pakistan. These are like the best teams in the world. And you're just, you're kind of fanboying a little bit because you're just walking around and they're there. Like there was a time when I was probably here to the camera away from Virat eating brekkie. You're just like, this is completely normal and I just have to eat my scrambled eggs and that's all fine. But yeah, what I will say, it was just awesome work, just being on your feet and knowing that you're playing a part in this tournament, that like if you didn't show up one day, then there'll be major problems, like you were helping these guys just keep their mind on the cricket, which I guess is the main thing that we had to do. So ultra fulfilling, like I loved it in the end. Like maybe we should do lots of tournaments in the future. I'm not sure they have as much kit bag as the cricketers do though. So it was good fun.
Yeah. Well, I tried to make it a bit of fun by timing how quickly we could pack a truck or unpack a truck when I arrived over there. But then I quickly realised that these guys have been doing it for a week and a half longer than I am, and they're pretty happy to just do it as they needed.
I kind of like the sense of urgency though. It was good. Sometimes you're like, great, we did that 20 seconds quicker than the last time. But
I'll be calling you guys next time I'm moving house.
Yeah. Well, do you remember how you got called up for that role?
I met, I knew Lee Southern through just the ICC and I'd met him before, and then we were at the Brisbane SportsGrad meetup and he was telling me how he needs someone in Perth. I need to know Perth, I guess, just be familiar with the place. And I said, well, I know Perth pretty well and Rubes is going to be at TLO, so why don't we do it together? So yeah, Lee, the great man. But I think, that's just come from relationships, right? You just know people in the industry and there's a need and you go to someone, I guess,
Well, even prior to that, we had that SportsGrad members job fair where Lee came on, talked about all the different tournament time jobs. I think we had a bunch of members do that HCLO role right around the country. Yeah. And then I remember chatting with you being like, oh, I'm going to be in tournament. You should think about it too. And then good that Lee came along to the meetup to make it happen.
I didn't even think to do it. It didn't cross my mind. But no, it was awesome. It was awesome. I might throw to H because when we were in Perth, obviously saw you there. I remember seeing one of your LinkedIn posts come through and it was basically a photo of you, laptop on the knees, backdrop, sorry, I'm not close to the mic, backdrop being Optus Stadium at like an India match and it was just full. And I just thought that's a really cool post, but also it just shows like how cool your job was. But keen to understand sort of what did your tournament jobs include? Was it marketing or what else filtered through as well?
Yeah, well, it was interesting and funny. Bring up that post. I called upon the skills of one Stephen Williams.
Yes.
I remember sitting in the room with him in Perth and just being like, mate, you know how to write a link. What do you think about this? we discussed the mechanics of how many emojis are too many.
Yes.
When you pop them through the post, but
Serious.
likes Ruben. So yeah,
Serious stuff. The emoji ratio.
it is.
It's important.
It is, yeah. So Ruben with the assist. On that.
Nice.
But yeah, Ryan, it was really interesting because a real mixed bag of duties during the event time, and as we've sort of alluded to today, that you kind of always got to be on standby to do what is required. But also during the event, we're still selling tickets, we're still trying to promote the matches, still trying to fill the stands, get people going there, bring money for the till. So as people working in the digital marketing space, we'd still have to execute our normal daily marketing functions. So lots of just making sure our paid activity was running, working with our fantastic kind of media and creative agencies in Melbourne who were making sure all the ads are still running and driving the clicks and the ticket sale conversions.
Yeah.
And then also just sending out EDMs. I should have crunched the numbers today to figure out how many EDMs Jack and I sent during the event time.
Been up to 300, I think.
Easily, yeah. So that's a lot of comms.
Yeah.
Both writing and reading, proofing, making
Yeah,
sure all the buttons are going to the right place. And I don't believe any went to the wrong people. I don't think.
Not that we know of.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to a few kind of stories coming out there, but it was fascinating. And then of course I was working the sports presentation lead role, just as Jack was over in your fair city of Perth.
Yeah.
So doing everything that we had to do to make sure that the anthem and flag ceremonies were running correctly, and make sure all the kids and everyone involved with those presentations were happy. And I didn't have to polish the trophy, but it was pretty funny. Kind of carrying that one around.
Yeah.
Actually, one quick aside. The first time that I cracked open the trophy case, and it we kind of compare it to that scene in Pulp Fiction where they open the briefcase and you see the yellow glow.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like the first time when you open the trophy case and seeing it in there. You're like, oh my god, here it is, the trophy. And I saw something down just kind of sticking out the side of it. I pull it up, and it's just an ASICS tag. So it doesn't matter what you're doing incorrectly. Wow. ASICS always finds a way.
Yeah.
The official manufacturer of the trophy.
So
Nice.
shout out to ASICS.
Good on you.
And just on the ads that you kept running, because sometimes you'd be trying to get ready to run ads for a match that you don't know the teams of the two people playing. So what is what's the turnaround of new creative, new set of ads, new audience potentially, when you're waiting for two teams in the semi-final to be decided, for example?
Really good question, Ruben. And it was something that required a lot of planning. So there were kind of two ways that we managed it. And one was our wonderful graphic designers worked into the wee hours. Post the opening round matches when we knew who was going to qualify for the Super 12. The guys jumped on late at night and were updating all of our assets just to make sure that Ireland, Netherlands, Zimbabwe, and Sri Lanka were featured in the ads. When it got later into the event, what we did is we just created ads with every possible combination of players. And so we had all the assets there a few days out, and then on the day we just had to make sure we were using the right ones and send those ones away. So had a few different kind of contingency.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I wasn't, this might sound weird, but I think I saw you cutting up like an EDM on the night in Perth.
You were. Yeah.
I wasn't just sitting behind your screen watching what you were doing, H, but I remember, and you were talking to someone about it, and I was like, people might not understand that, the marketing and all that activity has to happen whilst the games are happening. It doesn't just stop at the start of the tournament. So it's you're in Perth Stadium in a box essentially working around the clock whilst the game's happening. Like, it's a crazy mix, you know. You don't just sit back and watch the game and work after it. You know, you're going through it.
That's it, yeah. And because a big part of it is extending that match day experience. So a person comes to the match, has a ripper of a day out. So you want to make sure that you kind of close the loop with them. Send them an email afterwards saying, hey, thanks for coming out. We'd love to know what you think about the match. You know, here's some great content highlights. And, you know, a few kind of things there just to kind of complete the experience. Because if you go to an event and then it's just sort of nothing, it almost feels like something's missing there. So it's all about that customer relationship management is your fuzzy business to do. Ryan, it's just to get the comms ready to send out the next morning and jump it straight onto it particularly with West Coast and East Coast time zone differences. A lot of it was making sure setting things up in Perth so that, you know, in a few hours' time on the East Coast when people were waking up, I had an email sitting in their inbox saying, thanks for coming along. Hope you had a great night. So, marketing never really slowed. I
love it.
It was good. Yeah.
Nice.
And I mean, I think it is sort of pretty special here today, knowing that all four of us were involved in the event, and you know, particularly Ruben helping out with the mighty UAE Falcons.
The Falcons.
I don't know if they identify as the Falcons, but I saw their logo and it's definitely a falcon on there. So I've been calling them the Falcons.
We need to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
It's the Falcons.
I've literally just booked a trip to Dubai to go and see them prior to going to the World Cup in Qatar. So next weekend I'll be catching up with them. They're currently in Nepal playing an ODI series over there. I thought it was very risky of them scheduling an ODI series right when the final of the T20 World Cup was happening, because who knows, they could have made it all the way to the final, but
what's going on there?
I don't know.
Go on, guys. Get self-belief.
Yeah, I know. Seriously. But yeah, so I was a team liaison officer for the UAE Falcons, and my role there was to make the tournament as enjoyable as possible for the team, and easy as possible in the sense of all the logistics happening on time. Equally as easy as possible for the local organising committee too, because you've got things that the LOC want the team to do, and you've got things that, you know, the team want to do as well, and there's information that's got to go both ways. So it was up to me to be able to communicate that. For example, you know, if UAE wanted to cancel training, then I've got to let the appropriate people at the LOC know that training's not happening, because that has a flow-on effect to what goes on inside the training venue. Caterers need to be stopped. People can be told to go home early, or, you know, vice versa. If the LOC is saying to us, you know, on a game day, we don't want you at the match until 90 minutes prior to the match, then I've got to relay that information to the team manager, who lets everything else know. Hotel check-ins are another big one, just making sure that, you know, you're the first person there, getting to the hotel, getting all the keys, making sure you know where everything is, so that when, you know, a squad of, in UAE's case, 24 people arrive and they've got all their questions of where's the team room, where's my room, where's the bathroom, where's this, where's that, you've got all the answers ready to go so that they can just, you know, get back to enjoying themselves. So that's kind of the crux of the role. The parts that I didn't expect probably came around training times, because for me, like, I'm a 28-year-old male who loves cricket and has played cricket for 16 odd years. And for me, it was like walking into another cricket team. So I slotted straight in quite easily. These are guys who I got on well with, very, very well with. And when we're hanging around training, you know, you just walk past people and you have a bit of a chat with them, ask them how they're going, see what they're working on. And I went up to the captain one day and asked him, hey, CP, do you bowl? And at this point, I'd only ever seen CP Rizwan pick up a bat. So I thought, oh, what his bowling's like. And he goes, yes, I can bowl. Do you want to see me bowl? And I was like, okay. And he goes, there's my bat, there's my pads, jump down the other end and I'm going to bowl to you. And I was like, oh my God. My first thought was, I haven't battered in the nets for like 9 months. I'm going to be terrible here. But at the same time, I was like, the captain of the UAE has challenged me to a net. Like, you don't say no to that. And so I started padding up, and he goes, all right, Ruben, I want to have a little bit of a wager with you. If I get you out, you've got to buy me Nando's. But if you hit me for 6, then I'll buy you Nando's. And I'm like, okay, I can only see this going one way, but sure. So agreed to the challenge and stepped down the other end of the nets at Junction Oval. And he bowls a leg spin. So he comes in to bowl his first ball, lands perfectly in front of me, draws me forward, and then spins like a metre past the outside the edge of my bat. And I was like, okay, this guy's very handy, as you'd expect from a bloody international player. And so I thought, okay, look, let's just try and get the most out of this. Don't shy away here. Actually go for it.
Swing.
Exactly. That was my thought. So he bowls the next one, drifts in. I come down the wicket to try and hit him straight back over his head. Big swing and a miss, out stumped. And he's hands in the air going, hey, Ruben, that's Nando's. You owe me Nando's. And I was like, oh, God, here we go. Anyway, he bowled about 2 or 3 overs to me. And in the course of that time, he got me out about 11 times, I reckon. And every single time, like, I'd sky one up in the air and he goes, hey, Ruben, that's a large chips. Or I'd edge one to keep. He goes, hey, it's a large drink. Or he bowled me with a wrong one at one point. He goes, hey, Ruben, there's no more chicken in Nando's because I've got you out so many times. So, yeah, had an incredible experience just facing the UAE captain, who I later found out is the second leading wicket taker in the domestic comp. So he can bowl.
Yeah.
He was just keeping it to himself. So I picked on the wrong person to
Captain never
challenge.
bowls himself.
Did he? Yeah, did he bowl it over during the World Cup?
No, he didn't. So they've got another leg spin bowler, Kartik Mayapan, who actually took a hat trick.
He was on fire.
Yes. And being on the bench when an international hat trick is going on was an incredible experience in itself. So on game days, we would go down to the dugout and sit with coaches, team management, assistants, all that, extra players, and you just be part of the team. So when we're batting, it was quite cool because the entire squad's there watching the team bat. And I can tell you, it's no different to, what you guys would have experienced playing cricket on a Saturday and the chat that goes on. It's a bit more serious, but the conversation turns pretty quickly to just random things. But to be amongst that when a bloke has taken an international hat trick, I think it's only the 5th in T20 World Cup history, was pretty special.
Yeah, I remember watching it that night, and I think that was probably one of the moments for me when I realised actually you are a bit of a force to be reckoned with. Yeah. And he's like a young guy too.
Yeah, he's only 22 years old. But yeah, when one bloke is taking a hat trick, that means there's not really a spot for a second leg spinner in the side.
I think my favourite moment from that match was it the 11th batter to come in and smoked a 106 metre 6 out of Kardinia Park and goes to celebrate with the double cobra.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even though the team is about to lose.
Yeah. The team was 9 for 65 at this point, and Junaid Siddiqui comes out and hits the biggest 6 of the tournament, and turns around he's put his hand up to his head to watch it sail over the roof of Kardinia Park, then turns to the bench and starts to flex his muscle. And I thought, this is great.
Next ball loss.
Yeah. So the team lost by 70 odd runs that game, but
you got to take the small wins when they come.
Yeah.
yeah,
100%.
exactly. So was very fortunate to be able to be paired with that team. I think it could have been, the experience would have been different with every other team, but I felt very lucky to get the UAE team. They were incredibly excited to be at their first ever World Cup. They're incredibly down to earth because they're an associate nation. They're not used to getting any sort of help whatsoever. So for them to kind of welcome me into the team and make me feel a part of it was very special. And at the end of it, they didn't have to, but they gave me a signed shirt, which I'll keep for a long, long time.
I think you were, you were pretty fortunate in the sense that the team that you were paired with, was an associate nation, so you can kind of connect with them a bit more. And probably a really memorable experience for them, as much as it was yourself. I could imagine it'd be a very different and probably kind of troubling role in a way, being paired with one of the big cricket powerhouses in a way. The amount of kind of pressure and weight on your shoulders there. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're all super friendly. Like, so when I told them I'm going to a wedding in India in January, they're like, "Oh, your wedding's in Kerala? I'm from Kerala. I'll be there. Well, let's catch up." Awesome. Or you're coming to Qatar for the World Cup. Make sure you stop by Dubai. We'd love to host you. And so that's happening in a few days.
You got 11 new mates.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
So good.
So I had a phenomenal time.
Nice. Awesome to hear about all those roles. Your match day sports pres roles sound bloody awesome. So congrats on that. I want to touch on meetups because you guys were obviously at Melbourne. Yes, so Melbourne was Friday, but before that we were in Sydney. We're at the Commons on George Street in the CBD, which is unreal. We had about 60 to 70 there, which was fantastic. We had a panel. We had James Gellert from the UFC. We had James Ellender from Active Exchange and Claire Stewart-Hunter from Gemba. And it was just an awesome panel discussion. I think some of the questions, they were like, wow, I don't know how to answer that. Like, they were stumped, which was fantastic because you could see these guys sort of try and answer things on the fly from these industry professionals who have so much experience. So that was good. We had people from the FIFA Women's World Cup. We had people from Cricket New South Wales, Gemba, Parramatta Eels, fantastic. Get some NRL in there. So Sydney was fantastic. And then obviously Friday, over at Centrepiece in Melbourne Park, I think we hit 150, which was incredible. Great to have that support, and the venue was just fantastic. So big thanks to MOPT for doing that.
Not to mention Dua Lipa next door as well.
Well, I was going to say, we're battling with Dua Lipa. I reckon we did all right. SportsGrad Meetup, Dua Lipa. I'm not sure what you guys are choosing. I know I'd be at a meetup, but that's just me. But again, had a great panel. We had Aaron Cross, who's the COO of Champion Data, Taryn Evans, who's the head of people experience at Melbourne Olympic Park, and then Bennett Merriman, CEO of Rostify as well. And I honestly reckon you could name about 50 organisations that were there: AFL, Cricket Australia, the ICC Men's T20 World Cup, Collingwood,
Richmond Footy Club,
Richmond. Like you just go on.
Football
and on.
Australia.
It was unreal, but yeah. Did you guys enjoy it? Obviously, saw you guys there.
That was an awesome night, and credit to yourselves for running these awesome events. Speaking from the perspective of someone in the industry, someone with kind of years of experience going along to just enjoy the panel discussions. I got so much out of it, and a great way to kind of network, meet others in the industry, and sort of hear and share tales from across different codes. I spoke to a few people, from the FIFA Women's, and some of the people from footy, and just kind of hearing these stories that sort of mirror our own experiences in a way. That's from different sports, and you hear all those kind of different nuances that come out when you're working with various different governing bodies. Yeah. But unreal evening, and absolute pearls of wisdom from the panel discussion too. So you picked three leaders
awesome.
To take the mics that night. Yeah.
That's great to hear, because I know one of the reasons why we created meetups for young professionals was because when Ryan and I were at Cricket Australia, on our professional development plan, there was a line item on networking and expanding our network within sport and learning what other codes and organisations are up to, but there was no natural way to go and meet these people. It was very much up to us to find someone on LinkedIn, reach out to them and try and connect. So to hear that you've got that out of it is exactly what we would have hoped for. So that's really good to hear.
Not to mention the wonderful catering from the good people at Centrepiece.
It's brilliant.
Saw a few confused looks when the charcoal encrusted mac and cheese lights came out. A few people thinking it was a brownie before they bit into it.
Yeah.
I looked at it, I was like, that's got to be a brownie. There was another one, the kingfish was a little it looked, some people weren't sure what it was, and I had it, I was like, that is unbelievable. But yeah, they were like, well, what is it, before I eat it? It was very fancy.
I think the mushroom pies as well. they were a doozy as well.
Yeah. Doozy.
Awesome. Well, guys, before we wrap up, Jack, I wanted to highlight you before we finish because you've been around the SportsGrad traps for a while now. And for those who don't know, you and I met when we were playing cricket at Canterbury Cricket Club, probably close to a decade ago now. And I just want to read out something that you sent me on the 13th of November, 2019. Keep in mind that the SportsGrad podcast launched in June, July 2020. So before all of this was even a thing, November 2019, you reached out and said, "Hey Ruben, I've recently graduated from my communications degree at Deakin University. Love what you're doing with SportsGrad." At the time, it was just a shitty little YouTube channel.
Wasn't shitty, mate.
Congratulations on your role at Cricket Australia. It's definitely a dream organisation for myself as well. Cool that you're working in cricket now. I was wondering if you would know of anyone at CA that would be up for spending a few minutes of their time to have a chat with a passionate sports media graduate like myself. I know it's a busy time of year for everyone, but would greatly appreciate anything, mate. Cheers, Jack. Now, a role came up at Cricket Australia shortly after that, and you chatted with a few different people in media and in the coaching department, and thank God you didn't get that job, because it meant that when SportsGrad started in the middle of the next year, you were able to spend the next 7 or 8 months with us as a content intern, and you absolutely smashed that. People might not remember, but you edited the first 70 odd episodes of this podcast, and then featured in episode 73, where we asked you about your first week on the job as the marketing communications coordinator in your first full-time job at Rugby Victoria. Later in 2021, so that's probably started 2021, you're doing this interview about Rugby Victoria. Later that year, job comes up at the T20 World Cup for a digital marketing coordinator, which you absolutely smashed the interview on and the application process for. Fast forward a year from that, you're then standing on the podium in the middle of the MCG with streamers going everywhere, all over the ground. England have just won a magnificent World Cup final. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, good job. From the high school student that I saw playing cricket to like the uni graduate who just randomly reached out to the professional who's now standing on stage in the middle of the MCG with 80,000 people around. To see where you've taken your career is incredible, and it's a great inspiration for other people looking to make inroads in their own career. But I hope you're feeling very proud about how far you've come. But I just wanted to share that journey that you've been on that you might not have realised yourself.
Yeah, thanks for that, mate. It's funny how things work out. I'm sort of, in hindsight, I'm glad I didn't get that initial role with Cricket Australia, but it has sort of worked out really well, and I feel like it is a journey that's really sort of aligned with the growth of SportsGrad as well. Obviously, working with yourselves from the start at SportsGrad, from the creation of the community and membership to see where it is today, and however many hundred members and how many so many jobs being posted in there regularly. It's just great to see, and I think like we know sport is all about people and relationships, so I think building them through all the meetups over the years and seeing how far it's come now, it's just it's been awesome to see, and it's played a huge role in my development and my career. And I think just with obviously the role at the moment, I think certainly a learning is prioritise sort of the organisation and team over the role. As you mentioned, I was a communications graduate, never worked in marketing before, but I'd always wanted to be involved with the T20 World Cup, and when that role sort of opened up, I knew I'd be working with an incredible team, really talented and experienced team, and from there opportunities just grow. So I've had some great experience all facets of marketing now, and it's really given me a great platform to sort of build on my career. So I think for anyone out there, we've got a sort of a decade of golden sport opportunities in Australia. We've got obviously the Rugby World Cup, FIFA Women's World Cup, Games, Olympics, another T20 World Cup. So I couldn't highly recommend jumping into the events industry, because there's nothing else like it. Everyone working towards that same goal within that same timeline, and it's just incredible working within such a close and small team. You can really see the results of your hard work and effort. So, couldn't highly recommend jumping into some major global events.
What's one thing you learned from H working with him in the last year?
Were you a sponge?
Absolutely.
It was a two-way street.
For sure. H is unbelievable what he does. A great sort of leader in the team. I've learned so much from H, as I mentioned. Jumping into marketing, I'd never sort of worked in that role before, but I've learned so much from the team. It's such a supportive and talented team, and we really sort of drive ourselves to get the best out of each other. So it's certainly been one of the greatest experiences I've ever had.
Nice.
Yeah, ditto.
You're a leader, H.
Yeah. No, cheers, JL. I reckon this would be probably my favourite job I've worked, just in terms of how much I've gotten out of it, how much I've enjoyed. And again, it kind of harks back to exactly why you guys do this, but there's no better industry to work in than kind of working in sport. So, it's been unreal. Great. Don't really have anything more to add, but no, just echoing JL's words about Jack's words about working in events or sport over the next number of years, and of course the Olympics in 10 years' time. It's golden decade of sport. I think. Unreal.
Awesome. Well, both, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
You might be a little bit tired, which is always good. But I think just listening to you guys talk about your roles at this World Cup, it's super clear that you just loved it and you're passionate about it. And I definitely recommend anyone listening who's keen in this space to just take a look at what these two have done. It's just, you're obviously super passionate, which is what everybody wants in their job. So take a leaf out of your book. Find something that you absolutely love, and some of your insights has been really good today as well. So thank you very much for coming in. And finally, guys, this is our last guest episode of 2022, which is absolutely enormous, but we are wrapping up a little bit early this year to focus a little bit more on the membership and our online community, and just to put a bit more time into that so we can end the year on a real high. So we'll do one more episode before Christmas just to do a little bit of an end-of-year wrap, which will be a bit of fun, a bit of a reflection of the year. I don't know how it's the end of year. I really don't. This is the last industry interview of the year. But don't worry, we'll be back in 2023, bigger and better. There'll be a few tweaks to some things, some exciting things on the horizon, some awesome guests coming up. It's going to be great. So we'll see you next year after the end of year episode. But in the meantime, and as I always do, I'll throw to Rubes. What are some episodes that people can listen to in the meantime?
Well, I reckon if you want to hear Jack's first episode, which
I definitely do. Didn't know he's been on here before.
Ooh.
Yeah. If you go back to episode 73, you can listen to a very fresh voiced, I was going to say fresh faced, but you can't see him when you listen to it.
I think I had a bit more sleep the night before that episode.
Yeah. Very fresh Jack Lloyd, when we interviewed him literally at the end of his first week at Rugby Victoria. So that's episode 73. If you want to know what it's like getting your first job, then go listen to Jack. Or if you're just starting your first job, want to hear about how he approached that and was able to level that up to the T20 World Cup, then go listen to Jack. But if you're keen on some more tournament time jobs, go back and listen to episode 138 with Hyam Katrib. Hyam is the head of workforce at the FIFA Women's World Cup. She controls all the staffing plan for the FIFA Women's World Cup. So she oversees just about every single job. So she's the person that you want to know. But she has also got an extensive event experience. She has worked at I think 7 or 8 different Olympic games, going way back to Sydney 2000. So if you want to hear about tournament time jobs and events and all that, then go and listen to Hyam. She's episode 138. So yeah, go enjoy those.
Brilliant. You are the directory. You've done well this year.
Thank you.
We've brought that in. I've put you on the spot. I don't know how many times now. You've done well. Not many mistakes. Awesome. We'll wrap it up there. Connect with us on LinkedIn. Plus, be sure to jump into the SportsGrad community. We would love to chat with you inside there. So head to our website at sportsgrad.com.au/community to join, or head to the link in our show notes. Also, if you love the show and you love these two gentlemen, we'd love for you to rate the show 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcast. Subscribe on Apple or follow on Spotify. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.